One of the more popular questions that I see asked when it comes to retro handhelds is what should somebody buy for Pokemon games? The answer to that question now is the AYN Thor. The AYN Thor can play every single Pokemon game ever made, all of them, whatever you want. And thanks to the dual screens, that also means that DS and 3DS games can be played properly now. That basically means that you can have one single device for the very first time that can play every single Pokemon game ever released. So today, let's do a video all about Pokemon ROM hacks, and everything Pokemon connected to the AYN Thor. And if you want to learn more about the AYN Thor after, check out my videos in the description so you can see my review and so on. I'm also going to be using the official TPU shell in today's video. I'm a big fan of it, and I highly suggest it if you are grabbing a Thor. Starting with Game Boy, of course, and you have two options. You can play it at the top for a larger screen, but you have more black bars, which you can add an overlay to if you wanted to, or you can play it on the bottom. Less black bars, but it is more of a natural look. Then, it is the same exact scenario with Game Boy Color, of course. And if you want to fast forward, you can fast forward for days. I have this capped at 3x speed, but you could go all the way if you wanted to. It just gets too quick, so this is how I like to play. You have a ton of power here for fast forwarding in all games. Now, what is awesome about both Game Boy and Game Boy Color and a lot of other single screen Pokemon systems, as we go forward, you can throw up a Let's Play or a walkthrough or whatever you want on the second screen so that you can see it while you're playing. Or, you could just load up some actual Pokemon anime on the other screen and you can watch that while you're playing. Brain rot to 1,000, but why not? Then we move on to the Game Boy Advance. And yeah, these games you would want to use the big top screen, of course. Some nice big GBA. I love big GBA. It's my favorite way to play it. Lots of options here. You can integer scale so you get the right pixel sizes and the lines aren't wavy, or you could just blow it up to use the full screen if you wanted to. Game Boy Advance is a great fit, and you have an absolute ton of Game Boy Advance ROM hacks too, so you can really just play whatever you want. Now you might be asking, what ROM hacks should you play? And I have 2 videos for suggestions, but there are just so many good ones. Unbound, Radical Red, Gaia, Prism, Rocket Edition, Mariomon, Ash Gray, Emerald Sea Glass, and so on and so on and so on. I could keep going forever. You could spend a lifetime just playing ROM hacks on this device if you wanted to. We finally get to Nintendo DS, and this is the first and best device in the world to play Nintendo DS properly, emulated, and has dual OLED screens. It is extremely gorgeous. You have Pokemon Black and White, Pokemon Black and White 2, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, ROM hacks again, and yeah, it is a perfect fit here. You have a nice big top screen, nice sized bottom screen for second screen usage, and you can also shrink the top screen to match the bottom if you really wanted to. You have a lot of options here. There really is no better way to play DS Pokemon games, and I actually prefer this over the original hardware. These displays just grab you, and everything just fits. And so we get to Nintendo 3DS, where we can now play some Pokemon X and Y, my personal favorite 3DS Pokemon games, but also Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and even ROM hacks for 3DS like Photonic Sun or Prismatic Moon. Like the DS, with this device having 2 screens now, there really is no better way to play 3DS Pokemon games. Even over the original, I would take this every single time. You can also fast forward if you want to in 3DS games, and you can play through the entire 3DS lineup. 3DS emulation does have some shader compiling stutters, so you're going to see some of that in new areas with new moves and so on, but you will get a generally smooth experience otherwise once all of those compile. And the Thor has even more power than this. Because then we get to Nintendo Switch, and you thought it would end here, but nope. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, and Legends ZA. Now, Switch emulation has varying levels of success, and there's some things that could go wrong here. Sometimes you have graphic issues like in ZA, sometimes you have crashes, sometimes things just go wrong, and Switch emulation does take some time and know-how to actually get it set up and running. And especially on the Thor, you would want to be using something called custom drivers for the best support. But if you can do all of that, yeah, you have a mini clamshell Nintendo Switch here. AYN does what Nintendo don't, and all that sort of thing. It is crazy how much you can actually do on this device, Switch included, to have the full Pokemon experience on one single device. And that wraps up the entire mainline Pokemon series on one device. Now add in all of the ROM hacks, the spin-offs, and so on, and you have so much more you can do. But let's go further on this one. How about some PokeMMO? Lots of people love that game, and it is on Android, so yeah, you have all of PokeMMO to go through if you wanted to, and you can use the actual controls of the device. No touchscreen or weirdness or funkiness. PokeMMO is kind of cool. I've never really gotten into it, but it seems to fit nicely on this device. Do you still want more? RPG Maker fan games. Have you heard of Pokemon Uranium, Pokemon Insurgents, Reunion, Reborn, Rejuvenation, and so on? Well, using JoyPlay on Android, you can play all of those on the Thor as well. I have an entire guide that shows you how. JoyPlay can be pretty finicky, so don't go in expecting everything to be just perfect here, but more often than not, you can just play without issues, especially the games that I mentioned before. There is just so many RPG Maker games besides those two if you want to play them, so you could just keep adding so many Pokemon games if you want. Whatever Pokemon game you want to play, which for somebody like myself that likes Pokemon games, especially the old ones, the Thor is just perfect for every single use case, especially thanks to the dual screens, which is the entire reason why this becomes the single device that you can play everything on. And so, yeah, no clickbait, and for the very first time here, there is one single device in the world that is the best for Pokemon, and it is the AYN Thor. It is the most complete way for you to do it. That is all I have for you today. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro handhelds. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.